I have a problem with landscape photography. I do love landscape photography. I think it's a great excuse to go out and explore your local area, as well as travel and discover new places. But the resulting photographs. Well, I have taken a few nice images, perhaps even beautiful. But that's just the problem. They are just pretty pictures. And I want my images to be something more. And the thing is, I kind of achieved that with my street photography. To me, my street images are something more. They have a certain style to them. So how come? Why can't I achieve this with my landscape photography when I can achieve it with my street images? Well, one could argue that the street and urban photography lends itself a bit better to that personal touch. Because there's always so much going on the streets, and you always have that human touch in the images, even if they don't contain any people. And we as a human race, we are very self-absorbed. But if I look back at my older street images, it wasn't always like that. My older street images, they were also just a mixed bunch of pretty pictures. So something changed. What changed? And can I apply the same principles to my landscape work? After some careful meditation on this subject, I've come up with a 4-step plan for myself. Step 1. Study. When I kind of reinvented my street and urban photography, I started by studying what came before me. I've always liked to visit art museums and art exhibitions. And I do of course like photography the most, but I do appreciate all kinds of art, especially modern art. And besides just visiting the local art exhibitions and museums, I do try and travel at least once a year to the Louisiana Museum, which is one of the foremost modern art museums here in Scandinavia. As well as I always try and visit the museums when I'm on vacation. However, that's not enough. It's a great start and it helps broaden one's view. But what I did was I started to discover and study the images more carefully, and thinking about what resonated with me and why. And I also read quite a lot of photo books, or looked at quite a few photo books. It is a great source of inspiration. You have those collection of group books, which are great little snippets from a lot of photographers in a curated way, as well as specific photo books to one photographer. Also a great way of supporting photographers you like. And I do have 2 examples of how this helped me to improve my street images. I bought the book The World Atlas of Street Photography, which gave me a wonderful insight in how diverse street photography can be. And 2 photographers, Michael Wolf and Edson Chagas, really resonated with me. I also visited Lennart Durehed's exhibition, New York 1974, when I was on vacation on Öland. And I also bought the exhibition book from that show. And if you look at my current street images, you can clearly see that I've been inspired by these, as well as some other great photographers like Gursky, Thomas Strutt, and fellow YouTuber Nick Carver. So I intend on doing the same thing for my landscape work. I already have a few favorite landscape photographers, and I quite recently picked up the book A Lifetime of Discovery by Bruce Barnbaum, and I do plan on visiting the Kirsten Klein exhibition before it ends at a somewhat local art gallery to me. And I do plan on buying more photo books and signs in the future, as well as visiting more art exhibitions. And hopefully I can dissect and find the inspiration from these greats, and hopefully it will help my own landscape photography work. Step 2. Practice. Without the pressure of thinking too much. That might sound like a bit of a contradiction. Why would I spend so much time on studying and dissecting other people's work if I'm not going to apply it to my own? Well, I don't want to copy. I want to be inspired. And that was what happened with my street photography. I just kept on photographing without thinking too much about it. But I was more aware of my own photography and what actually resonated with me. And this is actually something that Bruce Barnbaum talks about in one of his books, The Essence of Photography. He says that you should, just photograph stuff that resonates with you and that you are interested in. And he also mentioned that you should focus in on making single standalone images for a start, and not worry too much about how they fit into a larger collection or book. That book, by the way, is very well worth the read. Anyhow, I do agree with that. I do think that's a good idea, to focus in on making single standalone images for a start, and doing that the best you can, without worrying too much how they fit into the larger body of work. I'm not saying that the photo project is out of the question and that they can't be powerful. They most certainly can. But I do think that comes later. I do think I need to figure out what I actually like in landscape photography first. What a thing to say after doing this for almost 10 years. Step 3. Printing. I also need to start to print more of my images, and in my case that means to spend more time out in the darkroom. This was something I did with my street images. I tried to perfect them the best to my knowledge out in the darkroom. I matted, I framed, and I hung them. And this process, it forced me to spend time with my images, to kind of dissect them, try figuring out what I like and dislike with my own images. In a way, I started to study my own photography. And this is something I feel like I need to start doing more with my landscape photography as well. I have printed some of my landscape images in the past, but if I'm honest with myself, I haven't really tried to perfect those prints. And I haven't hung one of those in ages. And that is what I think I need to start doing, try to start perfecting the landscape prints as well. I've actually started taking steps towards this already. I've started by just rediscovering some of my old negatives, a great exercise in its own. And I've started to print these on 8x10 paper, and I intend of pinning these to a board next to my computer monitor, so that I'm forced to look at them and start to think about what I like and dislike about them, and how I might perfect the print. And then later on I will revisit them out in the darkroom and try and make the perfect print to the best of my knowledge. Step 4. Exhibit the work. The last step is to exhibit my work in some way or form. I have actually done a few group exhibitions for my street photography, and even sold a few of those images. There are still a few available on my webpage, by the way. Anyhow, by doing those exhibitions, I was forced to group my images, to think about what images works together. And in a way, I kind of discovered my own photography style. And I was lucky enough to do more than one exhibition. By the second one it got better, and by the third I am rather proud of the series of images that I produced. And I want to do something similar for my landscape work. I don't know how or where yet, but I am going to try and figure that out somehow. So there you go, that's my plan on how to make my landscape images be something more than just pretty pictures. It's 4 simple steps. 1. Study. 2. Practice. 3. Print. 4. Exhibit the work. It sounds simple, but I do suspect it will require quite a lot of hard work, and I actually do know it does require quite a lot of hard work. Do you have any other idea of how to improve one's images? Please do share it in the comments, or perhaps you have a book or favorite photographer you would like to recommend. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care and bye.